Hello, and welcome to A Young Man's Guide to Life, podcast 7. And I'm here today with a good friend and another mentor and knowledgeable gentleman, Obodai Tetteh. How you doing?
Yes, Steve, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. How are
I'm good,
you?
man. Nice to be here as well.
I'm pleased. Well, you know why I've asked you to talk, right? Because as a young man's guide to life, I was thinking, what do young men want to hear about? Mental health, sexual health, physical health, and martial arts and self defense. It's got to be up there with most young men's journeys, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, yeah, any form of fitness really,
Yeah.
combat, not always just to fight, but to
Yeah.
have that confidence in yourself and be able to sort of be honest with yourself, what you're capable of, you
Mm,
know, because
yes.
for me as a younger man, when I realized and what I was actually capable of and what I wasn't capable of, you know how to pick your battles. You know, sometimes you might need to de-escalate things, and that's really hard to do as a teenage young or a young man when you've got
Yeah.
you're surrounded by other young men who are like, oh, wait, what? I didn't let him talk to you like that. What? How could you
Yeah.
let him talk to you like that? And then your ego kicks in and it's like, yeah. Then
Of course,
you
ego.
turn around and you're like, wait, say so or something.
Starting it.
Yeah,
But that's puberty, though, isn't it? That's
it
that
is.
period of puberty where everyone's like measuring where they stand and what they can do. And when you're that age and you're maybe at school, you're all poor. You're all just students, right? You're just kicking around. You're all eating crisps, whatever. So you haven't got anything to differentiate each other. Whether it's like how successful you've been, how intelligent you are, you're just all there, and it is the
And everyone's trying
physicality.
to
Everyone
find
wants to rough
themselves, yeah, and
house.
everyone wants to rough
Yeah,
house. It's that male thing of, I don't know,
it
that
is.
testosterone, if you say, if I can
Of course, it
say.
is. Yeah, of course. And I think it happens in all kids because even Hyde now is like 6. He's at a boys' school and they fight a little bit. They all do little fights. And because he tells me sometimes I fought him, but I haven't fought him. And then me and him do
Yeah,
fights, but he never
yeah,
does fights with people. I'm like, they're
yeah,
6.
yeah.
So I think it's
It is
ingrained in
ingrained.
us as
It's
guys.
ingrained. Same with my little ones. They just play fighting, and
Yeah,
every time they meet up with daddy, they want to tell you about the little. Yeah, and he tried to do this, and I did that dodge that I saw you guys do, and I remember. I you and I are around about the same age,
yeah, we are.
and so that some of the not nice stages of England, I was growing up in, and South London wasn't too much of a pretty place. So,
No.
you know, growing up, you'd be chased by, you know, a few racist people, but then you'd go to school and you'd talk about it with your black friends and your white friends, and your white friends would sympathize. Would be like, oh, that's what so you knew not everyone was like that. But then you had those
Yeah,
who were like that, and they wanted to beat you up in school as well. So many of fights I had in school, and when you come home, it's like, yeah, this guy did this, and I punched him in the belly, and as a young boy, and when your bigger brothers and his mates are sort of like, yeah, and what happened? Yeah, are you all right? Yeah, you just feel good, and you go skipping down the stairs to go and watch your cartoons, and it's just like, yeah, you know. But for martial arts, when I found martial arts that actually had a sensei, someone who was teaching me discipline of martial art, touching on the spiritual side of it, touching on the fitness side of it, and constantly drilling into my noggin that don't don't use this frivolously. It's not
yeah,
a joke, you know.
yeah,
Um, but you begin to realize, especially when you visit like, because I've done many martial arts. Like karate is my passion, So karate, kickboxing, sort of like the karate punching style kickboxing, not Muay Thai. I practice Muay Thai because I practice MMA as well. But my passion was karate.
Yeah. So you
You know,
started
that's
off.
how I started.
Yeah.
But you always cross train martial arts. Every different system or style, it's just a knot on the same string, a
Mhm.
long string of different knots of you know, this place here is for fitness. This is for meditation. This is for, you know, self-perfection. This is for self-discipline. This is for self-defense, you know.
Yeah.
But you start to
Yeah.
visit these dojos or boxing gyms or wrestling gyms, and you realize, especially with the young men that's running, you got a problem. There's none of this he did this, snide comments, and when you go out, people are posting messages to you and posting it. No, because you're in that world where, well, we're all practicing how to fight. We've got a problem. Let's go in the ring and have a straightener and do it where I'm not going to end up killing you, or you're not going to end up, you know, and 99.9% of the time, after doing, you know, 3 minutes of intense, like letting it all out on each other. You know, at the end of it, you shake hands,
Yeah.
and,
Always.
and no one has
Always.
to tell you because that you end up gaining that respect. Like, do you know what? You see it all the time in like MMA fights, boxing fights, months and months of animosity, and then after the fight, it's just like,
They
do you
shake
know what?
hands.
And that do a lot. That does a lot. It does a lot for a young man to know those kind of levels,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, I like the way you said discipline because that's the thing that teaches you because you go martial arts in themselves. You like you said, it touches on spirituality, meditation, stuff like that. But you might get into it because you think, I want to do self defense. I want to defend myself. I don't want to be pushed around. I hate it when the bigger kids are chasing me. You know, it happened to all of us growing up. Like we said, it's a rite of passage. South London, Birmingham, in when we grew up in like the 80s and that,
Yeah.
probably very similar. But nowadays, I think the world has changed a bit. But I still think that the guys don't get away from our sons. We know this. Don't get away from a little bit of physicality and
Uh,
all that. So it's good that they're magnetized towards martial arts. Maybe first of all to get tougher, bigger, to stick up for themselves. But eventually they don't realize and they're learning discipline, loyalty, a
the
code
code
between them
between
that
them, yeah. And you
yeah
know,
makes them
the
more
demographic in all different martial arts gyms is totally different, and everyone is sort
mad,
of
isn't it?
like, there's no sort of like, well, I'm a big time lawyer, so I'm not going to spar with
Yeah,
you, or everyone's getting
it's a
down. It's a
leveler.
leveler. So when,
It's a
yeah, when
leveler.
you're doing your like sort of bonding, everyone's, locker
Yeah,
room banter, and then you find out, oh,
yeah, yeah,
hold on,
yeah.
you're a stock trader? Like, okay,
Yeah,
hold on,
exactly.
you're a property
Exactly.
developer? Hold on, you're a
Yeah.
cleaner? Like, you know, you're a student? You're still in school? Like,
Yeah.
like,
Everyone's the
everyone's the
same though.
same. It's like we're all
Everyone's the
learning
same.
with each other, and
Yeah.
there's a in karate we call it. This is one of the reasons why I was gravitated to karate. It
That's it.
was
Yeah.
Okinawan style Shotokan, and my first sensei, he was only a senior in my school. He was but really really good, and he was traditionally trained by this Japanese guy who worked for his dad.
Okay.
And he just trained him every day. His dad was like, "Yep, this is one of the payments," and he always touched on stuff like dojo etiquette. You don't need to be
Yeah.
walking into a dojo to show that. If we're training out here on the grass, you still
Yeah.
show that dojo etiquette, i.e., when
Yeah.
we're training. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
hurt you. You're not trying to hurt me.
Mhm.
We're learning. We're exploring together. You know, and I feel doing martial arts, especially for these younger ones, doing something um, with that vein in there. before, as they start getting older, like nines, tens, then start going into something with striking, boxing, kickboxing, and then some kind of grappling art. That's the best self-defense because the rest is all your mind, really. It's all you.
Yeah, it is. But what I love is self-defense is might be a means to an end, but learning loyalty, discipline, boundaries straight away makes you a better man. You're going to be. I like to say the word gentleman. It doesn't always translate in different corners of the world, but it will make you a good, upstanding man in society because you've got boundaries. You know how to respect boundaries.
Most definitely.
You're following rules to the right point. Don't want to follow rules like a blind sheep, but following rules in the sense that we've agreed sparring, so like 30% power, and you agree with me, 30% power, and we do that. And we've all been there. I remember when I was in Thailand.
That comes to me. Sorry to cut you there, but what you said, sorry, I keep it in my mind. What you just said there, usually, from my experience, that even goes without saying. It's rare that you actually say to someone. It's rare that someone would actually say, like, there are usually circumstances like, you know what, today, right, like I pulled my shoulder yesterday, so, and then you would know, all right, then cool.
Okay, no worries.
But usually, you touch gloves, and in the first 5 seconds, you've said what you're gonna say. So you might hit me really hard. I might hit you really hard back. Then we know, oh, okay, you can really.
And then I'd say sorry to you because I didn't realise
exactly.
Man. But
I know what happens in the next exchange. You're not so aggressive, or you are so aggressive, and I have to show you again, or there's sort of like a physical, like whoa. And there's usually that dojo etiquette to be like, oh, he's not good. Rarely you'll find someone who will be just like, like a Sean Strickland type. And be like, what? Just like, what? Come on, it's a boxing gym. But otherwise, there's always that respect.
You're right. And you know what? Imagine.
Because it's self-defense and martial arts, it's all fun and games, but it is a dangerous thing. Just like any sport as well. I don't consider martial arts a sport, but any sport, rugby, football, basketball, hockey, bloody rowing, everything can be dangerous. Horse riding. Yeah, of course. So you kind of follow the rules of control, and you don't do outrageous stuff,
Yeah. But you've reminded me about something else. First, I was going to say, when you talked about the implicit the boundaries thing, imagine we learn that in martial arts so that we can spar and do things in a controlled manner. But that implicit understanding that there's boundaries and we respect each other, and because it's sparring, we're going to do it like this. And if I go too far, you'll keep me in check, vice versa. Imagine that goes into your brain for your life. So as a man, you know how to act with other men. Then you don't take it too far. Jordan Peterson, I listened to his book the other day. Yeah, he was telling us. He told a story about where he was mining. He worked in some mining thing, and one guy used to take things too far. He'd moan too much and complain too much, and the guys, they would always just banter and like hit your arm and be a little bit like rude or throw something at you if you did it as a one-off. But this guy, because he kept complaining all the time, they kind of like they bullied him to the point that he left. Because they realised for the morale of the whole group, when you're out there in the cold mining, they had to get rid of him. So they were just tossing stones at him constantly, like when he was trying to eat his lunch until he left. And imagine being that guy. He grew up with none of the knowledge of boundaries, none of the how to be with other guys. So he went too far, and everyone had to keep him in check or get him out of the society, exile him. And what martial arts is teaching you as a young guy, those boundaries had to be with other guys. You go into a job where join a team, a football team, or it could be a team of people doing deep sea diving or things like that. You got that implicit knowledge, even the army or anything. You got it then, you know it, and you know how to be with other guys. Can't talk about how to be with women, but how to be with other guys, it's
but
got.
You know what? Trust me, it really does, and because currently for the past 13, 14 years, I've been teaching urban Krav Maga, like strictly self-defense. So
I love your videos on that. It's good. It's good.
Because and I always prefix our training, whether you've been training with me 3 years, 6 months, 5 days, 10 years. Every session is prefixed with violence against another human being is not cool.
Hmm.
You know, the only time, I wouldn't say it's
Right.
cool, the only time it would be necessary is if you're devoid of any other choice and you know, you ain't got no other
Yeah.
choice. But then
Yeah.
I say you do what you can, but you do
Yeah.
it efficiently. And that's why I'm more focused on. I like to focus on teaching. I still teach like the boxing for the children,
Hmm.
kickboxing for
Yeah.
teenagers, and
Yeah.
but for that, yeah, because it's about shutting it down. So you do it in the goal is to incapacitate, shut down nip anything in the bud. You know that saying, nip it in the
Yeah.
bud
Yeah. Of course. Definitely. Yeah.
with minimal damage to everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Because
You
it
know,
isn't cool. Of course, it's not cool. But then it's not cool if
no, because it's
somebody's
not cool
doing
for
something,
young men. Sorry,
attacking.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I hadn't finished because it was
No,
running
go for
away
it.
from me
Keep
because
going.
we got time issues, haven't we? That we're gonna have.
No, no, no. We've got 10. We've got 10
Okay,
minutes or
brilliant.
so.
So
Let's keep. I want to get it
especially
all out.
for young men, and what I teach when I
Yeah.
doing the mentoring,
Yes.
like for the council, young children who were in care, the interventions for the teenagers in school, and for the older young men as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. It's like teens. Yeah.
So there are always repercussions to a physical confrontation,
Of course. Of
always.
course.
So self-defense is not actually just like martial arts is martial arts. I do that for my
Yeah.
self-perfection and my joy and you know to see the joy in others when they realize the self-perfection they're gaining, like the confidence I see in young ones and even older people who when they come to me they're sort of like yeah, yeah. And by the time, you know, they're walking around like John Wick without, you know, that confidence,
Yeah.
you know.
Of course.
Um, but there are always consequences. We call it post scenario in the self-defense industry. Post scenario
Yes.
could be
Yeah.
whoever you beat up or defended yourself against, they got six cousins who are all MMA fighters, and they're going to come looking for you with chains, and it's going to be on site
Yeah.
when they see you. It's not
Yeah.
going to be right. Let's go around it. They're on site, or someone's going to record this, or it's going to be on
Hmm.
CCTV. And three
Yeah.
weeks later, when
Yeah.
you're sitting down with your nan and your family having tea, you get a knock on the door, and the police have come to arrest you. You
Can
know,
be. It's not like the
it's not
movies.
like the movies where
It's not
they
like the
kill
movies.
a
Yeah.
hundred people and
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
the
No
credits roll and
consequences.
you're like, yay, you know,
Yeah.
things happen here. It
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
be post
Yeah. Of
scenario.
course.
You now, I don't know, you may have, I don't know, broken someone's arm. You know, they tried to stab you. You took a knife off them and you cut them. You now may actually be going through PTSD because you've never done this to someone before.
Correct. Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
uh, for the others, you're in school, you might get expelled.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, just for
You lose. Yeah. You
simply,
lose it.
just for punching someone in the throat who was just really nagging on at you when you
Yeah. Yeah.
knew, or maybe you didn't have any other option, and that's why you just punched him in the
Hmm.
throat.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
if you had martial arts, first off, that bugging would have you could have just ignored it. But if you got too far, you'd have means to shut this down without really hurting them.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
without having to talk physically, you've
Yeah.
shown them you mess with me. What you felt could be 100 times more.
Yeah.
No
That's
one
it.
else really sees what happened because of how smooth you done it because you're so skilled at it. But that person knows inside themselves,
Yeah.
wow, I just got off lucky there.
It's back to boundaries
Back
again.
to
Yeah.
boundaries.
It's back to
Back to
boundaries. If
boundaries.
somebody is
You
nagging on at
know,
someone, trying to make them react, if you're trained, you train not to react. Have you ever heard this phrase? It's better to have a big stick behind your back and a quiet
Yeah,
voice than nothing in your hands and a
that's
loud
right.
voice.
Now, my version of that is it's better to be a warrior who chooses to be in the garden than a
That's
gardener
it.
who knows nothing.
Yes.
And that's why I continue to train. Like, people used to always ask me, "Do you still
I
compete?" And
love
I'm
that.
like, "Nah, nah,
Yeah.
nah." I said, "Why are you training? Why are you always training?" I said, "Well,
Yeah.
I coach and teach as well." I said, "Yeah, but you're always training. You're always studying something new. You always just
Yeah.
like I picked up judo a few years ago. It's the
Nice.
newest thing for me, and I just love it. And
Yeah.
again, martial art, that self-perfection, me realizing that at
Never
my
ends.
age now, at my 40 plus, I could still pick up judo and be proficient at it and be learning something new. I got in there, there's a 77-year-old man who's telling me, "Whoa, Neville," he's a French dude. He actually owns the
Yeah.
gym. He's like, "Neville, I started when I was in my 60s." And
Oh,
he's a
what?
black belt, white hair.
No way.
He's chucking all
Yeah.
the young men around like nothing, you know?
That's brilliant.
So
Yeah.
you're forever learning and forever building that confidence. Like, look, he's an
Yeah.
old man, but when he's walking up the street, he he walks he's a rich dude as well, but he'll leave his car and walk into the middle of Battersea where people are selling drugs and whatnot and go to the off license,
Yeah.
buy the
Yeah.
most expensive bottle of wine and walk back through. And no one bothers him because predators and those who are looking, they look for those who are weak.
They
Do you
do.
understand?
They
And that
do.
that
Yeah.
weakness is not that because you're a weak person. It's a certain aura. You might be just
Correct.
totally distracted, two headphones in your phone, but that's a weakness because you're totally oblivious of what's going on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's what self-defense is. 80% to me is about you. When in the industry, this thing is thrown around self-awareness and awareness and environmental awareness. But yes, but awareness of yourself first. On that day, when you're walking down the road, how were you feeling that day? Are
Yeah.
you aware of how you're feeling? Are you going to be able to perform like you performed in the gym last night when you were feeling fantastic? You know, are you, I don't know, with your granny who's in a Zimmer frame? Are you with children? Are you with someone who can't run if you needed to run away? All these things are the way. So now that will inform your decision. Am I gonna do something physical, or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or am
De-escalate.
I gonna,
Whatever.
am I gonna
Yeah.
be called an
Got it.
idiot in front of my children and all of that, just so they don't have to fight with me? So,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. It's a better option, and you know how to weigh 'em up. Do you know what I was going to say? How can we tell young guys that why martial arts and self defense is good? We're already answering the
you
question.
know,
There's so many things we brought up already as
there's
to
there's
why it'll help you become a better
there's
man.
not just
And
that as well. There's also the release of mental sort of stress.
stress.
You know, that's
Yeah.
what I love about boxing per se. Not
Yes.
necessarily
Yeah.
being a boxer, but being able to go into the gym and just I'm working on not just hitting the bag, but I'm working on a certain technique, and you just do that for 10 rounds. And you've got your headphones in, no one bothers you, and you're in a different world. Some people might need to just
Totally.
go in and just like for 3 minutes and they just release it because there's nowhere else they're gonna go and do that. Imagine a young
Where
man who's
exactly?
just left home, he's finished school, he's just left home a couple of
Yeah.
years, he's got his
Yeah.
place, he's got a woman now, um, they've had their first child, and he's trying to navigate this whole thing. And they're in I don't know, a two-bedroom flat, he ain't really got work, he's doing this, he's still dabbling in maybe selling this and that, and he just ain't got nothing. You can't go nowhere. You can't while out in the house because the baby's there. Your missus is there. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you can't go outside and while out. It's just civil unrest. You might get arrested. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Of
Someone
course.
might punch you up, and now
Yeah.
you feel like you have to do something because everyone saw you get punched up. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas you could be like, oh, I'm a bit, yeah, I'm going gym, Bubs. And mate, now you've got your routine. Now you've got your meditation where you didn't have
Yes,
to,
exactly.
you just go to the gym. Some people might go to the gym and do weights. It's
Mhm.
fitness,
Of course. Yeah.
other people. For me, I've got loads of things I can do. I can say, right, today I'm just, I'm going to work on grappling tactics,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
use that as a meditation because it's so
Yes.
technical. I really need to, and you just get in the zone. It's like being in a hyperbolic chamber, you know.
Yes. We said that to each
Yeah,
other the other day,
yeah.
right?
And
It
those
is.
are,
It
uh,
is.
I know a couple of young men who, so there's a young guy, JP, and when I
Mhm.
used to kickbox, I was going for my brown and black belt. I used to work at the place. I used to rent a hall, bring my students there, and I used to teach
Yeah.
self-defense for that kickboxing gym. And this
Mhm.
kid's mum brought him in. He was about 14 at the time, JP. I think they're of Italian descent. Yeah, I think they're of
Yeah.
Italian descent. And he was so he was just like he was like Harry Potter in the first film.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was like Harry in the
Yeah.
first
I
film, how Harry
can
was.
imagine. Yeah. Yeah. When he was all small
He
and
went
weak.
to a
Yeah.
private school. He played
Mhm.
croquet,
Mhm.
and he was just. But they lived. The parents had a divorce, and they moved into some estate in Fulham,
Right.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So all the young man them, they just
Yeah. Yeah.
bully.
Giving him a
They
hard
give him
time.
no more than a
Yeah.
hard time.
Yeah. More.
Like when he
Okay.
came there, and it was like Nev. They phoned me. They actually phoned me. They always wait till I get in. They was like, Nev, are you in today? I was like, yeah, I've got Olivia and blah, 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 blah. I said, all right, we're going to have this kid coming in today. We feel like you need to, because you've mentored before. You still do this thing with the
Yeah.
councils and he's going through
Yeah.
it, but his mum thinks, he should do kickboxing, but he can't, like, he's not ready for it. I think you should, Steve, this guy, JP, just using, like I said, because I'm a product of backyard training. I never
Yeah.
started in a
Originally.
dojo, you
Yeah.
know. It
Yeah.
was I was sort of like 7 years into my martial arts career back before I even actually started training in an actual
Yeah.
dojo with wooden floors and still outside someone's garden. You go to the football park. But anyway, I started him off with some confidence building stuff. It's a kickboxing gym, so I used to give him some kickboxing
Yeah.
stuff, build up his fitness,
Yeah.
build up his physique,
Good.
let him start feeling, and use the mentoring skills, that positive affirmation. He's
Yeah.
not throwing the hardest punch that's out there,
That's
but
right.
for him
Yeah.
today, that's wow.
Yeah.
Like these are
Yeah.
punches are harder,
Personal best.
you know, and it
Nice.
started building
Yeah.
his confidence. Then I took him through once he got a bit adapting like movement and he wasn't so uncoordinated. He started to get on a bit of a fighter's build.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
came in one day, he had a haircut. He's still got like the
Um,
pimples and he's
yeah.
still
Yeah.
that stage. And
But shaping up.
shaping up, I took
Yeah.
him through.
Yeah.
He used to train with me 4 times a week. Some days we would just talk about how to beat, like,
Hmm.
because he was struggling hacking being around other young men, but who are more their testosterone. They've got a bit more control over their testosterone. So they're like,
Yeah.
what you're a weakling, like, "Wah, ah," you know,
Yeah. Happens when you grow
yeah.
up.
And sometimes,
Yeah.
and one day he said to me, he's like, Neville, no, it was leading up to Christmas, and
Mhm.
he brought a bottle of prosecco from him and his mum. his mum wrote a note, um, and he said to me, I didn't read the mum's note, but he said, yeah, it's from me and my mum and my little brother. It's just, um, we've never met, and this was weird. It wasn't weird. It was like actually, um, it was empowering and it was liberating. And he was like, we've never met a black guy that we've interacted with like that. Like, I didn't think I could ever trust a black guy because all these guys who are bullying me are black. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah.
and some of the ways that when I, oh gosh, I'll put this charger in. Some of the ways when I teach my self-defense and the urban Krav Maga, there's a lot of audio stuff that goes in from my voice, you know, and
It's
it's
been a bit of a pause. There you go.
yeah,
You're
there's
back.
back. Yeah, there's a lot of when we're now practicing, you might learn the technique and abuse it, but when it's time for you to practice, call it a pressure test. I used to treat it as if I was one of these antagonists on the street, you know, and showing him how to match that energy or shut down that energy before you have to try to
Yes.
match that energy without even having to go physical. And you know what? His mum came back a few months later and he'd stopped getting bullied. Like he was even talking to some of these guys. She said one day they were going home and she saw one of the guys and it's like, oh, what you saying, Jay? And it's like, hey, yeah, you okay? You know, he's now in uni in Oxford. He wrote a book. He mentioned me in the book.
No
Yeah,
way.
uh,
That's wicked.
he's doing. He's a constable. You
Okay.
know, and yeah, I mean that was all from martial arts, and he didn't even go through traditional martial arts like how I did, like through the belt system,
That was just
gradient.
enough. That
That
was
was
just
that
enough to
was
build it
enough.
up again.
That was enough to build him up,
Yeah.
and you know,
Love
he's
it.
not out there using it. You know, so for young men, that's just
Yeah.
one story
No, they
out
didn't
of
need to. He didn't need to.
you know.
I love that. That's wicked. You should be proud of that. You should be really
Yeah,
proud
man,
because you
I
helped that
am.
guy's
I
life
am.
big time.
I am. Every time he's down
It's nice. That's
from
really nice.
he still trains with me when he's down from
Oxford.
uni from Oxford. He comes to the classes, he comes to the sessions, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, you've changed his outlook and his persona and his aura, like you said. Because I read an article recently that said they got violent offenders to watch videos of people. They just had random videos of people on the street walking, and they did notes on who they picked. They would pick on, and they always pick on weaker people. But the people that they didn't pick on, they weren't necessarily physically stronger or anything like that. They made up a term which was their element of organize. What was it? Yeah, how well organized they were.
Mm,
Meaning, if someone's dressed like bang on, sharp, 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 even if they're a bit weird, like on the left or the right of society, they're dressed eccentrically, whatever, they wouldn't get picked on if they were everything's looking smart, they're walking with purpose, they know what they're doing, they've got ideas in their head, they're grounded and they know about their
mm,
surroundings. They picked on the people who had one shirt button buttoned up wrong or untucked shirt or listening to music and being totally
yeah.
like not understanding where they were because that would
That's an
mean they
easy
were picked on.
target.
And I think this guy just got picked on because he was different and he was weak and all that. And then once he
Yeah.
figured out
Yeah.
he's got yeah, he was an easy target. Once he figured out he's got something about him, everyone else realised he's got something about him. He
Yeah.
had to believe it himself first, which I
Yeah.
think is
And
key for the guys, key for
it's
young
key
men.
for the
Believe
guys
it
because
yourself.
there's that thing
Mm.
of you know, my my I only ever had one bully because when people tried to bully me, I just used to fight them, you know.
Yeah.
And even if I didn't
Yeah.
win the fight, it was like this that guy, don't he's too much. It's not gonna be it. that's just,
Yeah,
you
people don't
know,
want the smoke, right? They
yeah,
don't
it's
want.
just like because it's like, just like he's like a little honey badger, man. I'm fucking just forget him. But when I was in Ghana, I had a guy who was trying to bully me in boarding school the whole time, and one day
Yeah,
he threw a kick at me, and I just swept him. I just swept his leg with ease. Like,
nice.
I
Yeah,
wasn't even
yeah.
practicing traditional martial arts at the time. It was just like I'd had enough, and he was really trying to embarrass me in front of all my friends, and he actually went to kick me in the head, and I just swept him, and he fell, no break falling, hit his
Hard.
head, he fell hard, and after that day, you know, he always said to me, like, you know what, you know why now I'm cool with you because you showed me that you're not a walkover, and that was another lesson I learned in. So yeah, the batteries running low, I think this one.
I was going to say the internet's going funny a little bit, and we're way over time,
Oh my
but
gosh.
we're in a good space in time. So I thought what I'd do is ask you now. I think we've covered what I wanted to do, which is tell young guys why is martial arts and self defense important. I think we covered that big time. Self meditation, which is in my book, because for me, I do boxing for self meditation because it keeps you in the flow, stops your thoughts coming in. You're too busy. If you're hitting a bag and you've got a timer on for 2 minutes, after 1.5 minutes, you're knackered and you're like, oh, I can't
Yeah.
stop because the beep's got to go.
Yes.
And so you're still going, or if you're sparring, so much
So much going on.
There's so much going on that you can't think about, oh my God, I've got to pay this bill. I haven't done my homework for next week. You can't think about it. You haven't got time. So for me, it's super important for that. We talked about that. But I love all the stuff you brought up today about learning boundaries, becoming confident in yourself as a man, and becoming, therefore, less of a target. And you're more capable in the world, whether it's work, whether it's with your wife, whether it's with, finding a partner or anything like that. It's important. So time-wise, I thought I'd ask you where you're teaching at the moment and how people can get involved.
But you know
what you're doing.
Currently, I'm mainly teaching on Saturdays, mainly in Stars Gym in Battersea Bridge.
Nice.
Yeah, 8 Hester Road. That's what I'm doing most of all Saturday. I'm there from about 10 o'clock up until about 4.
Cool.
But
so you can go down there.
Contacting me and booking something. There's also spaces available for small groups, one-to-ones.
Nice.
You can get me on my Instagram, Intelligent Defense, which is also linked to all my other stuff. And yeah.
That's nice. I'm going to put all your details on the podcast link so that people can see that as well. Because, after listening to this, some guys might want to get involved, start learning straight away.
I train a couple of guys, like old students here and there. So on Sunday mornings, there's a small group I was teaching brains class. It's an early one, 8 to 10:30. 8:30 to 10:30, sorry.
And you're teaching urban Krav Maga.
Yeah, that one is just strictly urban Krav Maga.
I like that.
All the outside training, all the guys who train like outside in little alleys and behind parks, they're all doing urban Krav Maga. We pull out truncheons, pull out training knives, sticks, branches.
I've seen that on the videos. It looks like realistic. It looks like what could actually happen, and it could actually.
For them, that's why they're doing it
for real,
because their lifestyle. That they might come up against stuff like that. In their lifestyle.
Yeah. And I've noticed it's women and men as well.
Yeah. And other times we just go through like the escalation stuff. So, yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to be doing this. I've always said I'm going to be learning and teaching martial arts in some way or some form as long as I'm on this planet. Whether I've got a walking stick, whether I'm in a Zimmer frame, if I'm on this planet, I'm going to be doing it. So
I love
once you can contact me and the energy's right, I'll teach, because I don't just teach anyone as well. Some people you can just feel they're irresponsible with it, and I've turned away many people before.
You don't want to, yeah, makes sense. You don't want to give them any more ammunition to be bad in the world. Yeah, I get that. I understand that.
Not putting out a load
I'm going to have to. No,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm going to have to cap our recording now. But thank you very much
Yeah,
for
thank you
joining me
for having
today
me,
on A Young
man.
Man's Guide
Thank
to
you for
Life.
having me. This is brilliant.
Amazing.
It's brilliant. I like what you're.
And maybe we'll do this again and we'll talk about something specific
Yeah, well,
if you're up for
I'm
it.
up for that.
That'd
I'm
be
up for
good.
that because there are.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
even get to go into my grimoire. I've got
Oh,
many, but
exactly.
we can
All your weapons and stuff.
we
Let's do that next
can
time
liaise
because
about that as well.
if I was a young guy listening, I wouldn't mind seeing some
Man, do you
weapons.
know what? Yeah, maybe we
It's
can
all right.
touch on some, home defense and stuff like that. Yeah, we can talk about as well,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
and the
You've inspired
legalities
me
because
definitely.
a lot of things a lot of people don't know, especially in the self-defense world, the actual laws in the country that we live in.
Yeah. Okay.
So we do things like, for example, you have a fight, you know, police roll up and you say, yeah, he started it, so I did self-defense. You just admitted to a crime because you know,
Oh right.
you're meant to get arrested if that's the case. It's all
Yeah.
about a scenario. What happens in a scenario? A lot of people
Yes.
don't know how to talk to the police, what to say when they're not going to rough you up. They're just going to be like, all right, come, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these things, though, they teach us when we do our courses and stuff. But the laws change every so often. So yeah, maybe we should. It'll
Mm.
be. I'll be up for it, and
I want to do that.
I'll be up for
Man,
it.
I'm always up for it. This was a brilliant one today. Thanks so much,
Thanks,
man.
thanks,
It's
man.
really, really
And
good.
I hope, you know,
So,
any of my words that it will help and touch people in a positive way somehow.
I always say that if you can help, like even one guy from the whole podcast, that's cool. That's what I
Brilliant,
want.
man. Nice
Wicked. Well,
work,
thanks for
man.
coming today, and we'll speak
We'll speak
again. Take it
again.
easy.
Thanks for
Thanks
having me.
again.
See you soon.
See you soon. No worries. Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Okay, okay. Okay, 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 okay. Man, time just goes just like that. That was really, um, yeah, yeah. From young, from soon as you're young, like I did actually, man. It was actually quite, hello, boy. It was actually quite therapeutic, Steve. But no, no, I'm okay. My car is rolling around here with his Lego toy. Bubs is here. She's wrapped away the hair that I would like to see. Hey, you wanna say hello? Come in. Look, it's Steve. Say hi. It is, isn't it? Hey. Did you hear him? Hey. Yeah. He's heavy. You know what? It was really nice, bro.